Hey everybody, so I want to take a second to show you this. This is incredible, following up on Scott Ritter's house raid by the FBI. And we have speculated that the only plausible reason the FBI even bothered to raid Scott Ritter's house is because Scott Ritter is no patsy. Scott Ritter has been accurate and informative and critical on war lies and the propaganda being spread by the military industrial complex. So I wanted to add this in, and I do apologize for this weird setup we're trying to do remotely, Kitz Corner. It's not our usual setup, so bear with us on that. Um, but I want to show this particular tweet from Jackson Hinkle. Jackson Hinkle, who is also a phenomenal content creator, podcaster, streamer. Check out his work. He does a lot of great insights on Ukraine and Israel. And he says Scott Ritter's home was just raided by Genocide Joe's FBI. Check out this clip from 2002 when a then snarky Senator Joe Biden was humiliated by the then UN weapons inspector Scott Ritter regarding his lies about WMDs in Iraq, the weapons of mass destruction, one of the outrageous, infuriating lies at the turn of the century that people seem to forget. And it's kind of amazing that the people that used to be, up in arms about lies like this are okay with sending billions of dollars to catastrophically damage Ukraine or Israel or Palestine, whatever the case may be. It seems like propaganda just skips a beat and they forget about the fact that the US government always lies to the general public in order to infuriate people to get them fueled up for war. This has been this has been going on for decades since they wanted to invade countries, since the dawning of the CIA, since the dawning of the intelligence agencies, since the dawning of the military industrial complex. So it's fascinating that people just seem to forget that when cheerleading for sending more money off to overseas wars and invasion. They seem to forget these little lies that uh, scalded the entire American population in the early 2000s. And just listen to this, how crazy and cringeworthy this is.
I respectfully suggest they have a responsibility slightly above your pay grade. Slightly above your pay grade. To decide whether or not to take the nation to war alone, or to take the nation to war partway, or to take the nation to war halfway. That's a real.
He almost said half-ass. He almost said half-ass. But what you see here is Joe Biden bragging about the fact that, hey, I'm here, I make the most money, so I get to decide where we send our troops. And if they're in harm's way and they invade a country illegally and we do war crimes over there, hey, I got the one with money. I got the expertise. You're just an idiot in front of me. I'm smarter than you, apparently. That's what I get from this remark from Joe Biden. The fact that he has a sinister smile with this. Like, yeah, we're just, going to half ass a war. Which in the United States, I don't think they even do half ass. I think they just go full on ballistic and not even giving a damn about the consequences or any intel on the safety and security and the carnage that it causes. I mean, look at Afghanistan, look at Syria, look at the disastrous deployments into Libya and all these other areas. Like, they just don't care. They don't care. They just want to go in, storm in, kill as many people, and take off with their resources. They don't care. They don't care about the consequences. They don't care about the debt. They don't care about how much it's going to cause and famine and just misgraves and the people. Because now you got people pouring in as refugees from these territories that we invaded. But they don't care, especially Joe Biden, because Joe Biden makes the big bucks. And this is when his brain was functioning. And I find this more cringeworthy than the demented case of Biden that we have right now.
Tough decision. That's why they get paid the big bucks. That's why they get the limos and you don't. I mean this sincerely. I'm not trying to be flip.
Now that, folks, that face is priceless because Scott Ritter knows how bullshitted Joe Joe Biden's argument is in this. That's the perfect sum up face anytime you hear Joe Biden mention about this. That you've got to be kidding me. You're telling me it's okay to do the most heinous acts overseas, the humanitarian disasters that you've committed, lying to the general public for warfare in Iraq because you get to drive in limos. You get a bigger paycheck by the military industrial complex. You're just the patsy for the U. I get the most money. And Scott Ritter knows better. Scott Ritter is actually critical. He is an analyst. He has studied the significant damage. And that is, again, why the FBI under Joe Biden's administration raided his home. It has nothing to do with lies. It has nothing to do with a crime. The only crime that he committed was informing the public about the heinous war acts that are going behind closed doors. He was the one being transparent to an oligarchical authoritarian government that is putting the world on fire. That's the only crime that Scott Ritter is accused of. But they will never actually admit to that. They will never actually tell people that because then people will realize that is outrageous and that is an attack on a whistleblower, an attack on truth teller. But people are starting to wake up to this. So anyway, let's watch the rest of this.
Because I think, and that's what I said at the outset, the reason why I'm glad you did what you did, we should come to our milk. We should make a decision. But in terms of whether the Secretary of State has no more to consider than you do as the arms inspector. You didn't get in, didn't get my job done, get me in. Period. You made the deal, right? That's the deal. A deal's a deal. Get me in. Scott Ritter, I'm ready to go. It's not how it works.
So now Joe Biden's trying to play the mob boss dealer here. Hey, you made a deal, okay? You're supposed to get me in, okay? We shook hands. We spat at each other. We gave the high five, whatever. You're supposed to get me in. You're supposed to get the weapons in. You're the weapons inspector. You're supposed to inspect the weapons. Why are you here criticizing me about lies? Okay? That's enough gobbledygook from you. Oh, man. And this psychopathic cretin that's been in politics for decades became president because apparently people felt sad for slowly demented, fading away, sunsetting Joe and didn't want to deal with a game show host who had mean tweets. It's just unbelievable.
Now, maybe it should work that way. But wouldn't you acknowledge that if you were president of the United States or the Secretary of State, you'd sit there and say, now, okay, old Scotty boy didn't get in. We said he should get in. We want him to get in. It's important that he does get in. They're not going to let him in. So what are we going to do now? We know that France and Russia aren't going to be with us. We're quite confident China's not. We've already run those traps. They're not there. We're not sure where the United States Senate is, but have at it, boys. Go get them. And by the way, Scott and the boys say air power is not enough. I think it's a legitimate debate, Major. I think it's a legitimate debate. But I don't think we should be putting it in the context of you have somebody up there at state saying, look, how can we weasel out of this agreement? We want to let this guy out there hanging. We're not this. It's a very practical political decision. Same kind of decision General Powell made. Same kind of decision President Bush made. Every president, every Secretary of State has to do it. Like I said, they get paid more than you. Their job's a hell of a lot more complicated than yours.
Yeah, come on. Everybody's got to do it. Everybody's got to bow down to the military-industrial complex. That's why I'm on stage here. That's why I'm a senator, because I can't do it on my own merits. I mean, I didn't actually graduate top of my class. That was a big, giant lie, and people found out about that the first time around I became tried to run for president. So everybody's going to have to sacrifice themselves to the overlords of the military industrial complex and big oil and big tech and all these other serpents of major corporations. Everybody's got to do it. Why can't you? Why can't you, Scott Ritter? Why do you have morals? Oh my god, this is literally a joke. This is literally a joke. And you can see that Joe Biden's getting frustrated because Scott Ritter is not buying any of this. The fact that Scott Ritter is still sitting there with the look of, are you goddamn kidding me, written on his face directly at Joe Biden. And Joe Biden's seen this. Joe Biden knows that he's not buying any of this. So he has to do everything he can. Well, look at Colin Powell. He agreed with me. President Bush also agreed with me. So are you going to contradict them? Are you going to contradict the president? I guess you're not a true patriot then. This is a soulless war maniac. This is back in 2002. And Joe Biden is frustrated in the fact that he's getting caught up in his own lies. He's getting caught up in the fact that no other country is going to go along with this. Every other country sees right through this BS. And there was people at the time that didn't stick with the narrative. There was obviously people in support of this because the mainstream media's push on the WMD story and how we need to, go into Iraq and Afghanistan and all these other countries so we can liberate them from the terrorist ops. Believing into that narrative, but there was a lot of people that did not agree with this, and they saw right through this. And Joe Biden, being the psychopathic, immoral warmonger that he is, and still always is frustrating the fact that, oh my God, this guy's just sitting here, and I'm getting schooled. I'm losing control of the conversation. Oh my God, now I'm panicking. Now I have to go into like fake mobster mode. Like, hey, you came in, you made the deal, okay? We got to do this. Let's not talk about semantics. Let's not talk about details and whether or not this is actually accurate or any investigation. No. Let's not get into details, okay? We're gonna go in and you're just gonna have to like it, okay? Because you are there, I'm here, I make money, I drive the limos, and I'm sure that Raytheon is right behind me, gonna write out a big blank check for me. So there you go. And the reason I wanted to show this and how great this video to appear after what happened with Scott Ritter is to remind people that the whole reason the FBI raided his home of the former UN weapons inspector, the whole reason is the fact that Scott Ritter was the truth teller. Scott Ritter was the whistleblower. He has been the most accurate and critical when it came to the Ukraine war, when it comes to Israel, when it comes to any significant offensive war that the United States has cultivated into. And because of that, because of Joe Biden being the warmonger overlord that he's trying to be here and always continues to be, he sent his goons out to Scott Ritter. He sent his goons out to attack him, to put a target on his back for being a truth teller. And that is what is considered illegal in the United States. It's not a felony to lie the general public into outrageous warfare and kill millions of people. That's not a crime. That's considered, good leadership. But you telling the truth, you informing the general public is a heinous act that the FBI has to raid your home. What does that tell you about the leadership qualities and the moral of American democracy? And I put that in quotations because really it's not a democracy, it's an oligarchy. That's why they're able to do this. Corruption is legal. They're allowed to get away with their heinous acts because they're all filled with criminals. It's a criminal cabal. It's a big giant club, and you and I ain't in it. And they're just able to get away with heinous acts like this. And it just amazes me that this happened, over 20 years ago, and people know about the United States government lying us into war. There's been protests, there's been documentaries about this. Look at, the work of Michael Moore, for God's sakes. And now Michael Moore is championing the fact that, oh, we're liberating people, of Ukraine. We're helping them get their freedom and their democracy. Yeah, isn't that the same goddamn remarks they said about Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and Libya and all the other territories that we obliterated? You got duped. And I just want to remind people, the United States will always lie us into a war. They will always try to find something to get people cultivized, riled up into warfare as much as possible. Whether it be censorship, whether it be storming into whistleblowers, whether it be lying to the general public through the mass media sphere, or just yelling at people saying, hey, you got to be on our side. You're either on our side or the terrorist side. And you want to be on the terrorist side, then you're a traitor. You're a traitor to this country. But luckily, because of people like Scott Ritter, because of Jackson Hinkle, and YouTube shows like this, we're trying to find the answers to get us out of warfare. And that is something they hate the most.